Okay, so like I said, we'll be looking at the basics of Agile as a project management approach. Before we start talking about the phases in project management and all that, it's better for us to just kind of give ourselves the basics, have a foundational knowledge of what we're going into. So for tonight, we'll be looking at the origin of Agile. We'll look at the Agile versus waterfall. What are the similarities? What are the differences? We'll look at the agile mindset. When we see somebody has an agile mindset, what are we saying? What does it mean? We'll look at some key agile frameworks. We'll look at Scrum, Kanban, and Safe. And then we'll look at some key agile metrics. So those are the areas that we'll be covering tonight. Okay, so let's dive into it. Okay, so the origin of agile. Okay. Before agile, most software developments followed a rigid linear process. Okay. A process of when a particular stage has to completely finish before another stage starts. A stage where of the project where the requirement gathering has to be completed first before it goes into the next stage of the design has to be completed. The development part of things, implementing all the requirements will have to be completed before the testers have to test and then they deploy. Okay, so it has to follow that plan. There has to be that meticulous way of doing things. And that model mainly is the waterfall model. Okay, you know how water falls, water doesn't go back up, it just keeps coming down and all that. Or if you look at a step, the way a step is, you have to, from this step, you have to go into down to the next step and all that. And that is the way the traditional method of project management is before Agile came into being. Okay, so however, in fast-moving industries like software, the approach was leading to a lot of problems. It wasn't working well, so to say, or it wasn't effective or valuable in software because of the software has its complexity. Software things are changing, quickly changing, things are changing rapidly, and all that. So waterfall wasn't really valuable, and some of the problems that were faced during that time were late discovery of issues. By the time the implementation is done, the developers are finished developing what they're doing. That's when the tester starts testing. So as far as the developers are concerned, they finished everything they needed to do. That's when the testers test. And by the time the testers are testing and you call the developers back, now the contract you have with them has been completed. You told them between this time and this time, you give them a timeline to do what they needed to do. They've done what they needed to do. Now, if you have to go and call them back to say, oh, well, while they were doing it, they found this fault and everything. It goes into a lot of argument. There's a lot of time wasting and everything. Like I said, issues were discovered very late. Testing issues, integration issues. Because it's happening at the end. There are a lot of problems that were discovered during that process, and it's so close to time, maybe why they have to deploy or when the project is coming to an end. That's when they're discovering all these things and all that. So that was one of the problem. And then there's the difficulty of adapting to change because it's been discovered late. By the time they adapt to change, the team struggle to adapt to it. New customers needs, the market is changing. Before they know it, that trend is gone. Another trend is in the market. And then that means whatsoever they are building has become obsolete. So they had that issue also. And then there is slow delivery. As we know, again, because of the step-by-step, products were only delivered after a lengthy, development process and things like that. And then there are times when it takes longer. And by the time it's taking longer and everything, like I said, if that product is no longer in the market, the customers have moved on. They might have even moved on it to other suppliers that can give them what they want. And because of all these issues and because of all these challenges and all that, there's a group of 17 software developers. They came together in 2021 to discuss and agree a new approach of managing work that differs from the traditional way of doing it, the stage by stage and all the problems that comes with it. Let me not call it problem, let me call it limitation, because I don't want to call it problem so that we don't think waterfall is a problem. Waterfall suits some projects very well, okay? But it has limitations when it comes to software because of the rapid changing environments that software development is in, and some complexity that has to do with software development. So there was those challenges, and these 17 developers came together in 20 sorry, not 2021, in 2001. They came together in 2001. They discussed and they agreed a new approach of managing work that is different from the traditional way of doing it. Okay, and what they proposed was to emphasize adaptability, they emphasize collaboration and iterative process approach. And it was detailed out in a document that was called the Agile Manifesto, which is is a foundational document that underpins everything that is called Agile methodology, and it reflects the mindset of software development, project management, because it prioritizes flexibility, which they weren't getting with waterfall. It prioritizes collaboration, so there's collaboration between the team and the customer themselves. They were able to come in early, to review things and all that. And then there was customer satisfaction, because at the end of the day, because they've been carried along, they get what they want at the end of the day. Okay. So, and the Agile Manifesto is composed of the 4 core values of Agile and the 12 principles, which I think we talked about when we are doing the introduction. So please read up about it or watch the video again, just to have a simple, because I think in the introduction we did the simple explanation of them. So you can read up on them, but if you feel, oh, I'm not getting what this means and all that, you can watch the video for the introduction again, just to get a simple term or a simpler explanation of what those 4 values and the 12 guiding principles, what they were. Okay, so Agile project management approach became a transformative approach for delivering high quality software in an environment that is fast moving, and it revolutionized the way projects are being managed across industries today, not just IT world, not just software or IT project development world, but even where services are concerned, and even other industries are making use of Agile because they can see the benefits, they can see the value. However, like I said earlier on, waterfall is still suited to some projects. Like when you're talking about construction, waterfall is the best method or approach to do it, because they have defined requirements. Okay, so when you're building a house and you've laid the foundation, the architect has shown the customers the model of how the house is going to be and everything. And then by the time you finish the foundation, you've taken it to the roof and all that, customers can turn around and say, oh, sorry, we don't want it that way again. They saw the model, they saw the way it was going to be. If they don't want that, then that means they will have to go somewhere else to find something else. It's construction, especially building a house, is not something you can just change. You can adapt and just change things. You can't pull down the foundation, or you can't pull down the walls and everything, because the foundation has been laid, do you understand, to take the structure that is being put upon it. So waterfall is suited to construction and to some other projects like that. Okay, so that's just to put it out there, because a lot of people believe that Agile has come to take over from waterfall, and that's not the case. It's just that it's more suited to a lot of projects out there, and waterfall also is still suited to his own projects that it's suited to. Okay, so this is just to give us what the Agile Manifesto comprises of, the Agile values and the principles. Like I said, this is just to show us what they are. We've talked about them before, because we have a lot of things to cover tonight, and we have just few minutes to do it. So I wouldn't want to go into each and every one of them, but the four values and the 12 principles of Agile that makes up the Agile Manifesto. So quickly, we just want to see the differences, the similarities, because there's some similarities between Agile and Waterfall, and then we look at the differences also that we have. So the first similarities is that both of them are used both of them are used to manage projects. Okay. Waterfall is an approach. Agile also is an approach. You use it to manage projects and ensure that there's deliverables to the stakeholder. That's one of it. That's the primary goal of any project or any approach that you're using. You're using it to manage in order to get an outcome at the end of that project. So both of them are being used as an approach to manage a project. And then another thing, another similarity between them is that both methods define certain stage. Okay, so agile might not be finish this stage before you get to this stage and all that, but it has its own stage also. In that circle, also there's a stage, there's a planning stage, the early stand-up, the review, the retrospective, and then going back and all that. Those are stages also. It's just that in his own stage it is interwoven. It does it iteratively, while waterfall finishes everything that has to do with planning, not planning after that, everything that has to do with design, not designing after that, everything that has to do with finishing the whole stage at a go, while Agile does it iteratively. So when we finish it, we'll go back into it again. And Agile, the very good key components of Agile again is we're doing it little by little, and we're carrying the stakeholders or the end users along as we're doing it. So they have that similarities also. They have phases or stages also of the project. And then another one quickly that we want to look at is that they both have a goal. There's a goal, there's a project, there is a vision, there is a mandate that needs to be met, even though they have their own different approaches of how they meet it, but there is a goal. And the goal is to meet the customer's requirement. This is what the customer wants. This is the solution that you're providing for the customer. This is what they want, and this is what you're giving them. I know that, like I said, the approach is different, but there is a goal. And those are the things they have as similarities. So quickly, we just want to look at the differences between the two. When it comes to project structure, waterfall is linear and sequential, like we said earlier on. The project progresses through a series of phases in a linear step-by-step fashion. Each phase must be completed before you move into the next set. And another thing about waterfall when it comes to project structure is fixed requirements. Okay, so once the project requirements are set at the beginning, changes are very difficult to accommodate. There's a lot of it's not like Agile that is the response to change quickly. The response is fast. When it comes to waterfall, there's a lot of negotiation, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of hassles, if I can use that word for it. But I'm trying not to paint waterfall in a kind of a negative way, okay? Because like I said, it has its own project that is suited to also, okay? But when it comes to Agile, the project structure in Agile is the iterative and incremental. So we take a little bit of work, we do it, we review it, it had value to what we're doing, it becomes incremental to the product we're building. We go back again, pick another little chunk, we work on it, review it, adjust it as much as we need to, have a meeting, how are we doing, continue to improve as we're doing, improving the product, and also improving the process and the progress of the team that are working on it. And that's one of the good things. And another thing is for waterfall is a fixed requirement. For agile is adaptable requirements. So those requirements are not cast in stone. They are not, they are not do or die. We can adapt it. When the stakeholders come to review and they make changes, agile adapts to change, quickly. They respond to change quickly. The requirements are adaptable and all that. We take the feedback, work with the feedback, do the adjustment that needs to be done, and all this is just so that the customer is satisfied because you're giving them exactly what they want. You're meeting their expectation. So when we look at the flexibility and adaptability, also waterfall is low when it comes to flexibility. We've said it. The requirements are fixed, so they're not ready to um be flexible. Waterfall uh, highlight is not flexibility and adaptability. That belongs to agile. Okay, so waterfall. Let's assume that there's a request for a new feature after the design stage of a website project. You know, the flexibility is so low. Once the contract is underway, it's difficult and costly to go back and change things. Let's look at the construction that we're talking about and everything. The house has been built. The architect has shown you the model. This is how it's going to be. This is how it's going to be. You signed up on it. Oh, okay, that's fine. We like it and everything and all that. And then they started and all that. And you go in and you look at them. I don't want that window to be there. I want that window to be on the other side and everything. For a building, come on. There is no way they can collapse the whole thing and change it again. So flexibility is quite low when it comes to waterfall. But when it comes to, it's not as if it can't be done, because I'm using construction. It could be or even website project. It could be building a website project. But what we're saying about flexibility being low is that it's difficult and costly to go back at times to change. So for agile now to change, because you're carrying them along every sprint, it might not be costly to change because we're still building it. Yeah, we've not passed that stage yet. We've just finished it and we're bringing it to say, what do you think? Have a look at it, give us feedback so that we can quickly go back and work on it. Do you understand? But when it comes to waterfall, they had already passed that stage, and going back to fix things and all that is going to cost time, it's going to cost money, it's going to affect the budget. There's a lot of discouragement in going back to fix things, especially when it has gone, and that's waterfall. But like we said, when it comes to agile, it's high flexibility because they're carrying the stakeholders along as they're going. In planning and documentation, we know that for waterfall is extensive upfront planning. All the planning are done in the beginning. Okay. Waterfall requires detailed upfront planning and documentation. Every requirement, every specification is typically defined before the project begins. Before the project begins and all that. So, it's more of the theory aspect, not the practical applicable aspect when it comes to waterfall. But when it comes to agile, there is upfront planning. It's not as if there isn't, but it's minimal. So most of the documentations you have in Agile until the closure of the project are live documents. They are working documents. They are documents that we keep updating, as we go along. The backlog is always evolving. It doesn't stay static. It's not the same from the beginning to the end. The backlog is always evolving. Is always, you have to prioritize. New things come. Feedback from stakeholders means the product owner needs to go back and evolve and update the backlog and reprioritize things. That's why refinement comes in, so that we reprioritize things based on maybe feedback that has been received, based on new requirements that has come in. So there's minimal upfront planning. There's planning because there's nothing that doesn't have planning. There's nothing you just jump into and start doing without having a foundation, sort of. But it's minimal when it comes to Agile compared to Waterfall. And then when you look at customer involvement, we know with Waterfall, the customer involvement is limited. Okay, it's limited. Apart from the beginning when they sign off, at times when it's even at the end that they have to see, whatever they are that is being built and all that. It typically happens at the beginning when they are gathering the requirements, when they're doing the sign off, and then at the end when the product is being delivered. And once the project starts, feedbacks opportunity are very rare. The stakeholders don't come into the situation at all. However, when it comes to Agile, it's continuous involvement. They are always there. The review is there. They're always coming to the review. There's continuous involvement. Agile relies on that regular feedback from the customer at the end of the sprint. And that's why we have that review, in place. And this ensures that the product that is being built is meeting their expectation throughout the process. So they're not being left out. So at the end of the day, it's what their expectation is met, and we have that customer satisfaction in place. Looking at the testing approach, also testing in waterfall, we know it's late. Is after the developer has finished everything they had to do. When they finish implementing all the requirements, that is the stage that the testing comes in. But for Agile, it's continuous. So every sprint, there's development work, there's testing work, bugs are raised, fixed, even at times during the the sprint when it is critical and all that. So everything is continuous, everything is working, together as they go along, so that at the end of that sprint, there is a potential shippable and workable increment that is being added because it has been tested and it has been validated. So at that point, that incremental value that is added at the end of the sprint is workable, is shippable. Okay. So then the risk management also for waterfall, it's high risk because of that non-involving the customer in the process all through until the end. The entire product is developed before it is tested or seen by the customer. So there's a high risk of it not, meeting the customer's needs. But with agile is low risk because, like I said, we're carrying them along. And because you're carrying them along, the risk is reduced because the frequent reviews and the testing that is allowed, it picks up issues on time and is being dealt with also on time because of that. When we look at the team structure and communication, when we're talking about waterfall, it's specialized, it's hierarchy. The developers have to finish before the tester tests. Okay, so the testers can't jump and do first before is a rigid structure that is in place. The BA writes all the requirements. The designer has all the design in place. Everything has been completed. So it's hierarchy. This person has to finish before this person thinks about starting, before the next role thinks about starting. But when it comes to agile, it's cross-functional. You have a cross-functional and collaborative team in place. They are working together. Okay, I mean the developers is in the same team, the testers are in the same team, the designers are there, the business analysts are there, and they're all working together throughout the project. One doesn't finish before the other, they're working together. You have all of them coming into the sprint. You have the refinement, the PO is there, the BA is there for the refinement during the implementation itself. The developers are working, the testers are testing. If there's any bugs, they are sending it back to the developer to fix and all that. So at the end of and the BAs are coming back to do UAT, or the PO also, either the PO comes back to do UAT before we can say that that particular requirement is completed. So you can see they're cross-functional, they are working, they're taking feedback loops from the customer, adjusting and adapting as they go along. Okay, so the communication is there. And if you look at all their meetings, also because of the visibility, the transparency in Agile, also communication is key because there is no way you can collaborate without communicating. Okay, so that is key for Agile. And then we look at the ideal projects, for each one of them. So for waterfall, it's suited, like I said earlier on, for projects that are well defined with little expected change. When you're building a bridge now, once they want to build a bridge, there is upfront, well detailed plan. The plan might even take more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, because it has to be well defined. You can't make a mistake when you're building a bridge. you know you're building a bridge over water and everything. It has to be well designed. All the engineers, everyone that needs to come in, the plan is well, defined. The requirement is well defined and all that. So there's absolutely nothing like, oh, we want to change. If we wanted part of the pillars that are carrying the bridge to be curved and all that, halfway through we can say, oh, we don't want it curved anymore, we want it straight and all that, because the foundation that has been built for a curved pillar. So you can't just change it and all that to say, oh, it's not curved anymore because of, the resources that has gone into it. But when it comes to agile is suited for projects that have rapid changing environment. You're looking at the IT world, you're looking at software projects and all that. And there are some services also that has rapid changing environment that agile is suited for. So these are some of the differences, not all, but just these are some of the differences to give us an idea of waterfall and agile as project management approach. Okay, so we want to look at the agile mindset. What do we mean when we talk about agile mindset? Okay, so agile mindset highlights the doing and the being, just like we say in the image before us. It looks at the doing and the being process of agile. And it's a journey from one to the other. So there is no way you can be agile without doing agile. So you have to do agile first before you be agile. Let's look at a little child that has just wants to start, has been crawling before, and now stands, to walk. That child can't just get up and start walking. They take some steps, they get encouraged, they tell them how to move. Just take one step, come on, and then the other one. You can do it. First, you hold their hands, and then after a while, you leave their hands. They start walking little by little themselves. They fall down, they want to give up. You encourage them. No, no, no. You have to go on another. That is doing. And then it gets to a stage that you don't need to tell that child how to walk any longer. They know how to walk. They know where the portals are, what to do. Where when they get to roads that are, rough and all that, they know they can't just speed through. They can't just rush through. When they get to roads that are slippery, can't do one thing or the other because they have become, they've grown into that act and they have become it. And that is what just a little bit of example that I can use to explain what doing agile is and being agile. So the doing is the knowledge-based stage, where you establish the foundation of the values and the principles of agile, with yourself as a project person, as the person managing the project, and also within the team that you're working with. It focuses more on what to do, how to do it, still following the rules. Okay, so we need to do this and everything and all that. And then you grow and you metamorphosize into being agile. Being, on the other hand, is the culture-based stage, is a stage where you are now aligned with those core values and principles as an individual or as a team. It focuses on why we do it. Why do we need to do it? Okay. I'll give you an example, a practical example. So if you work in an organization where they practice waterfall, and you're going in as maybe an agile project person or an agile person and all that, and they've actually employed you because they don't want to practice waterfall anymore. They still want to do their project managing. They don't want to do the waterfall way. They want you to bring the agile way in with your agile mindset in order to help. And then going in, you're meeting with some resistance with the people you're working with because everybody doesn't want change. Okay. So change, because people know that with change, I have to stop the way I'm used to doing things. I have to start learning new ways to do things. They can't be bothered. They just want to do what they're doing. They don't want you to come in with the changes and all that. And you meet with that resistance and everything and all that. How can you, being agile, help that organization? Because right in that kind of organization, doing agile won't work. You can't keep putting your foot down that, oh, this is what the values are, this is what the principles are, and you just have to follow it and all that. So your mindset comes in first to be creative with the values and principles in order to help that organization transit. You can't, like I said, if you go with with the rigid, this is it, and that's what we're going to do, and all that, before you know it, you're out of a job. Because especially if some of the high, top management people are the ones that don't want it, it's going to be difficult for you to change. And if you look at the doing aspect of the image before us, it starts with the values and the principles, because those are the things you follow. And that's what starts shaping your mindset, starts shaping who you are. But when you look at being agile, by the time you've become agile, it's the mindset that you have first. So your mindset is the one that comes in, and you're looking at those people that are, they're fighting, or we don't want this change and all that, and you're being creative. How can I make those values and principles, work with them without them even knowing that that is what is working with them? That is what you being agile becomes. That is what you being agile is. You have to be creative. You notice some things they say. Some will tell you, I don't want to hear the word scrum. Some will tell you, I don't even want to hear the word this and that and everything. If it is the words that you're using, the scrum or the iterative, that is disturbing them, remove it, replace it with something similar, but that is not sounding like that. But make sure they are following that process without them knowing they're following the process. Because most times is either the name that is biting them, that, oh, we don't want to do that and everything. Okay, fine. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But can we meet? If you tell them, oh, let's meet every day for stand up and everything, oh, we don't have the time, we want to do this and that and everything. Can we do 3 days? Can we just do Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays and all that? The most important thing to you is that they start practicing those process and they see the benefits, the value in those process. You won't have to tell them to change. You won't have to tell them to continue it. You won't have to tell them to increase it. They will start doing it. It's just for them to start it, see the benefit in it, and then continue with it. Without them seeing the benefit in it, they won't want to do it. They won't want to start it. They won't want to do it. So you have to be creative, and that is your own culture, using your culture. The benefit you're getting, the benefit is in what you're doing, is in the approach you're bringing it to them subtly. And before you know it, they start growing in it, they start enjoying it, and then they start practicing it. So that is what agile mindset is. It's not just about doing it. If you're doing it and you're not being it, you are not allowing it to, you know, uh take over, if I can use that word, your lifestyle, your environment, the team you're working with, then you can't say you fully have the agile mindset. But it starts from the doing, because that's the foundation. And then it gets to you being it. And as you can see in the image we have, the practices, the process, and the tools, they're still there. The way you manage them with the values and the principle is what matters most, determines what level you're in. Are you still doing it? Are you still looking at, oh, what do we need to do? Or you're looking at, why do we need to do it? Explaining to your team, telling them the benefits they will get from it. Like I said, making sure they get the value out of it. Let them come to that realization themselves. Ah, this what you're saying is true. We're trying it and it's working, and before you know it, they start saying the good things about it. Oh, thanks for bringing this, because we started doing this, these are the things we're getting out of it, and they want to do it more. That's you helping them, because you have an agile mindset, and you're affecting others, you're influencing them, impacting them also, in starting with doing, and then helping them as time goes on to get to the being aspect of it. That is having the agile mindset, and also impacting others with it, so that people get to where you are as an agile person. So quickly, we want to look at the agile frameworks. Like I said, we're just going to look at these three key ones: Scrum, Kanban, and Safe. Okay, so we're going to start with the one we're mostly used to, and that's Scrum. Okay, so for Scrum, quickly we'll look at the roles, we'll look at the ceremonies, artifacts, and the project types that you can have. And we know what Scrum is. We know Scrum is a time box agile framework that is designed to organize work into iterations known as sprints. Okay, typically lasting between either 1 week and maximum of a month, a calendar month. So it could be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or a calendar month. Shouldn't be more than that. Okay, so we quickly want to look at the roles that you have in the Scrum framework. You have the product owner, who is responsible for managing the product backlog. We know about that, and ensuring that the team is working on the right things. They are the voice of the stakeholders, so we know that. And then the Scrum Master is the one that acts as the coach in the team. You are the processor of the framework Scrum, and that is why we'll call you the Scrum Master, the master of Scrum. You remove impediments, you help the team to stay on track, to follow the process in the way that the process is adding value to what they're doing to themselves as a team, and also to what they're doing. And then you have the developers. Okay, so I'm calling them developers and not development team, because that's what the Scrum Guide calls them now. So it consists of is a cross-functional team, members who work together to complete tasks, and it consists of the UX designer, the business analyst, the software engineer or programmer, who we all call developers, and then the quality assurance testers, who we all know as the QA. Okay, so those are the roles in a Scrum team. Okay, so these roles also work with other roles and other teams in the organization, because in building the project, it is not just down to the Scrum team alone that does it. There are other teams in the organization that you will need to work with when it comes to deployment, when it comes to release and all that. There are other teams, the operational team, you deal with them, you work with them also. So, but this is the roles that you have in a Scrum team. And then when you talk about the ceremonies of a Scrum framework, we're talking about the sprint planning. We all know what the sprint planning is. That's where the team meets to plan what needs to be completed in the upcoming sprint, in the next sprint, or the new sprint that they are going into. And then the daily stand-up is a 15 minutes time box meeting where the team members discuss the progress and upcoming task and any blocker. So it's a meeting we have daily to plan ourselves. To say, okay, so this is what we've done. What do we need to do today? Is there anything that will impair, impede anyone that needs to do anything that won't allow for seamless, working or progress of work and all that? That is the meeting where we jump into in order to get update and plan how the next 24 hours, if you can put it that way, is going to go. And that's why we call it daily. Okay. And then you have the review, we have the sprint review is another ceremony, and that's where the team demonstrates what they have done to the stakeholders, gets feedback from them, and then adjust the what has been done based on the feedback that they've received. And then the sprint retrospective is the meeting where the team comes together to reflect on the past sprint and discuss how they can improve in the next one. What are the things we've done in this one, that needs improvement? What are the things we've done in this one that we need to pat ourselves on the back for and say, let's keep to this one. This one is good. Let's keep to it and let's ensure that we keep working that way. And then quickly, we want to look at the artifacts that you have for the um, Scrum framework. So the first one is the product backlog. Is a prioritized list of features, enhancements. It could be bug fixes that the team needs to work on. So it's a list, and most times on your in on Azure, but that's the one you have as new. Some team actually change that name to product backlog, maybe for the team members to understand. But any column that is new, that is the product backlog. That is the one that has a list of everything that needs to be done. So you have it in epic level, you have it in feature level, you have it in user story level when it comes to Azure, and what each level helps you to see. Like for the Epic now, Epic carries the initiative, okay, and it helps you to see how far we gone with the initiatives and everything. You're able to see that. And then the sprint backlog is the list of items that we've selected from the product backlog that we want to work in the sprints, in the sprints that we're going into, or in any current sprint. That's where we pick what we need to do from, and we start working on it. That's the list of the things that we need to do in the sprint, list of tasks or work items that we've committed to, that we're going to work on. And then the increment is the working product that results from that sprint. We have a goal when we go into a sprint and all that. The increment is that goal. If we achieve that goal, that goal becomes the value, it becomes an incremental value that has been added to the product that is being built. Okay, so quickly, some project types that Scrum is suited for now. Is not limited to this, for the loads of them, but just for the purpose of our session tonight, we just want to look at this for. So the first one is software development project, and this is what when we're talking about the origin of Agile. This is one of the reasons why Agile originated in the first place. In the field of software development, and it's still one of the most. Scrum is still one of the most popular framework of Agile that is being used to manage software products, because requirements often change based on the user feedback, technology advances, business needs change depending on how big the business is becoming. And Scrum provides that flexibility, to incorporate these changes while still developing value, through incremental outcome of every sprint that the team is working in. Another one is the product development project. When you have product development projects, such as digital products, they are highly suited also for Scrum, the Scrum framework, because they involve iterative work needs to be done. You need minimum viable products to be tested. Feedback loops are essential. Just like software, the product also is another good one, a project that is suited for Scrum. And then we have new feature. So you have an existing product that is out there and everything, and then there's a new feature that needs to be added to it, either to enhance it or to upgrade it and all that. Where customer feedback, you need the customer's feedback a lot, and the user experience are key because they are the ones that need this upgrade or these enhancements and all that. So you need them for review. You need to have their feedback coming in a lot. So one of the ceremonies, which is the review, you need it in place, and that's why Scrum also is suited for that project. And then digital transformation project also, in organizations undergoing digital transformation, they can benefit from using Scrum as a framework because it helps them to implement, the new technology is being put in place, processes across departments. There are typical complex projects that needs to be done, and that's one of the things that Agile or Scrum, provides a good approach and add value to. Okay, so quickly we will want to see also Kanban. Kanban is a more flexible, agile framework because it focuses on visualization, workflow. That's what it focuses on. If it focuses on visualization of the workflow and it's continuously improving, you use Kanban. You use a Kanban board to track the work progress. Okay, so we quickly want to look at the roles that you have in Kanban. So one of the roles, apart from the developer, you have the developers there. Developers, when I mean developers, I'm talking about, the developers, the testers, themselves, they are there. And then one other roles that we need to explain are the service request manager. So the service request manager, they understand and interpret the client's needs and expectation, and that helps them to align delivery priorities accordingly. So when it comes to Kanban is, like we said, is a workflow. Kanban doesn't use fixed iteration like Scrum. They don't do, oh, it's gonna be what it's this is workflow. We're just working. The backlog is being filled with work, and it's being prioritized. So you pick from the top, you work on it, and then you just keep working. If there are any other requirements coming in that the service request manager feels, oh, this is priority based on their interaction or their engagement with the stakeholders, the customers, and all that. They put that at the top. There are times when even what you've taken in, if the one they are bringing in takes priority over that one, the one you've taken in might be returned back into the backlog, and that critical one comes in to quickly be worked on. Okay, so you have that role. Okay, so that role is quite similar to excuse me, the product owner, but it goes a bit far. I don't want to use the word specialize. A product owner who has worked in a Kanban setup can also flow in that role properly, but I didn't want to use the word product owner in that role because they are service request manager. They've looked at the service, they know what the client wants and everything, and they are aligning what is needed after interacting with the customer, all the stakeholders. They understand, and they well understood the function of what is needed. So most times they work as they function also as risk manager and facilitator. They've looked at the risk of, if we bring this thing in, when do they want it to release? Is it going to be able to work? They've negotiated all that out with the stakeholders, and they're able to bring it in and ensure that the team works on it, concentrates on it. That's why I said there are times when they bring something that is critical to the customer in, and they might need to take out something that the team is working on before, because that has become less priority to what has been brought in now, based on the timeline that the customer wants it. It might be that it's needed, it's going to add big value, to their business and all that. So the service request manager is working based on that in order to ensure that the team concentrates and works on that. Okay, so and another role you have there is the service delivery manager. Okay, so again, the Scrum Master who has worked in Kanban can um, function very well in that role. An Agile Delivery Manager also can function well in that role. So their focus is on service delivery. Okay, they are responsible for improving the workflow efficiency. They are looking at the board, looking at the efficiency. They are tracking the cycle time and the lead time. This is taking too long. What is our average lead time on this thing we're working on? How best can we improve as we go along? What is causing the delay in that thing and everything? So it's more about being delivery focused, being delivery efficient for the service delivery manager. You know, and like I said, is not directly equivalent to a Scrum Master, but like I said, a Scrum Master that has worked within a Kanban team and framework and has mastered it can actually, flow very well in that role. And the main goal is to ensure that there is a smooth flow of work. There's a smooth flow. Any impediment, they're dealing with it as soon as possible. They are helping the team to focus on what needs to be done, increasing the speed of delivery and shortening the response time, because that's what the customer needs. That's why Kanban is a workflow. It's all about focus on what the customer needs and ensuring that we get it to them as soon as it's needed. And like I said, they have developers also, just like the Scrum team, because they are the ones that are working on what needs to be developed, what needs to be enhanced, what needs to be upgraded. The testers are testing it and all that. So that is the roles that you have in Kanban framework. And then we're looking at the ceremonies under the Kanban framework. So again, Kanban doesn't have the same set of ceremonies like we have in Scrum. They do how will I put it? They do make use of some of them or adapt some of them to suit their workflow, but they don't use all of them. So it might just be the names that is different, but they still do the same thing. So they don't do sprint planning. They plan, but they don't do sprint planning. They don't do refinement, but they do replenishment. And what replenishment means is a meeting where the team comes together to replenish the backlog. Especially when when they've finished working, they come back to the backlog. So which is like a refinement session for the Scrum framework. So they replenish it, they put new item in, they prioritize it according to the demand and according to the team's capacity before they start working on it, so that there is no delay or blockage while the ones they've started working. So they replenish that. They do have daily stand-up also. Theirs might be reduced to the number rather than having it every day, theirs might be maybe 3 days, but they do have stand up. So some have the whole 5 days, some do 3 days, depending on their project and how it suits the team, how it works well with the team, what they've agreed to work on in their team charter. Okay, so they have it, and it involves again checking the Kanban board, identifying any bottlenecks. Their WIP limit, work in progress limit to every column. Are we keeping to that and all that? Is there a story? If in our team charter, in their team charter, they've agreed that for every work that is in a column should not stay there more than maybe let's just give an example of 3 days. And the service request manager is looking at it and found out that okay, this is more than 3 days and is needed, by so time. What's going on? Why is it there and everything? Is there any blockade? Dealing with it. So they use their stand up to do that. And then they have their delivery planning meeting also. And this is a meeting where the team, plan the delivery. They plan how the delivery is going to be or how the release is going to be. There are times their own release is not every week. It might depend. So if they are working on a feature, a customer needs a new feature, they want their website upgrade, they want to upgrade their website with a particular thing, they want a particular feature or functionality, and they want it maybe out in the next 7 weeks and all that. So the team are working towards that 7 weeks. And when it's getting nearer, they are planning the delivery, they are planning the release. Is everything in place? Are the environments ready for it? The comms, has it been sent out? Everything they need to do. That is them planning how the delivery is going to be, the things that are going to be delivered. Are they ready? Coordinating with the customers, coordinating with the stakeholders. How do you want to launch this out to your customer? They start working with the operation teams in order to make sure that the release goes as smoothly as it should be. And then you have the service delivery review. So after they've done the release and everything, that is the meeting where the team meets, they review the indicators, their metrics, and the services delivery they've had. They identify opportunities for improvement and innovation and all that. Okay, so Kanban team most times don't do review with customers, the stakeholders, but they get feedback from them. And with the feedback they get from them, they are able to work. Remember, the service delivery manager is working with the team and the stakeholders while the whole thing is going on. So part of their release process also has incorporated the review that we would normally have in Scrum, but their own feedback, most of their feedback comes after the release has been done, and they are getting feedbacks. If there's any feedback that needs to be worked on, their feedback at times comes in as maybe bugs from the prod environment, and they are quickly fixing it. And that's why it's just workflow that they're doing, stopping whatever they need to do. Oh, this has come from the life environment, that this is not working well and everything, and they're fixing it as they are going along. So we want to look at the artifacts for Kanban. For Kanban, the first one is the board. We said it's visual workflow. So the Kanban board goes a long way. Is an artifact. It's very, very important to Kanban. The Kanban board is there, is the visual one that is divided into, depending on the team, but the basic one is into 3 columns: to do, in progress, and done, depending on the project and depending on how the team wants to work. Some other teams will do one column for ready. That means everything that is there has been checked, they are ready to be picked up and worked on and all that. They can have a review column. That means they want somebody else to review what has been done before they close it up. So it depends, but the basic one they have is to do, in progress, and done. And this is where their task is, and it moves from the left to the right until it gets to the done or the completed column, depending on how the board has been customized for them to use. And again, that depends on the project. But the most important thing is that the board has been set up in such a way that makes the workflow seamless for the team to be able to work with. And then you have the work in progress limits. We call it WIP limit, but the WIP is work in progress. And this ensures that the teams don't take on too much tasks at once. Okay. So, and that's why, for example, you can have a team of 7 members, and they've put their work in progress limit for maybe their in progress column to say it shouldn't be more than 7. And what that is saying is at least every team member has one story they're working on. And what that means is that until this person's story, moves into the next column, that person doesn't go and pick another story from the ready column in order to work on. So they have to finish it, move it on maybe to the testers to test, and that is when that person can go and pick another one to work on. Now let's assume that that person has finished what they're doing and move on, and there is still the limit is still there. Maybe somebody is not, I won't use the word struggling, but has challenges with what they're working on. You can actually join another person to quickly do what they're working on, especially if it's a critical and prioritized story. So A has finished what they need to do. They've moved it down to the QA to work on. He wants to go and pick, but notices that, okay, so this story, he's been there for a while. So this is the person working on it. They're collaborating, calling that person, collaborating with the person. Oh, what is the issue and everything and all that, resolving it together so that that story can move on, and then they can go and pick another one. And that is where the visual board, Kanban board, comes into place. So they are not just doing their own and moving on. You have to watch it. You have to, and that's why they've put the limit, the WIP limit also in place. So you're not, I don't want to use the word selfish or self-centered, just doing my own. I don't care about no, no, no. Everybody works together, and everybody can work on any of the items that are in progress. So there's nothing like, oh, it's not my skill set, I can't do it and all that and everything. At least there has to be 2 or 3 people that can do. Let's assume it's C#. There has to be 3 or two or three people that can do C sharp, so that when one is struggling, another person who is proficient in that program can pick it up and work on it, so that the workflow, the flow is moving. There's no bottleneck, there's nothing blocking or stopping a column from moving. That is Kanban. And then the continuous workflow is another artifact. The work is not, it just continues. It continuous flow of work. You pick it from to do, in progress, you move it to done, you go and pick again. So they just keep working on. There's no fix, like we said, there's no fixed sprint. There's nothing like fixed sprint. They can do we check, they can put in place to check things monthly. Let's do every 4 weeks. We want to check, like their replenishment meeting can be, okay, let's check every month, is everything that we need to be there. Some, it's when they release a particular feature that they are working on, that's when they quickly look at um the the backlog to say, okay, we need to replenish it. What's the next thing that is coming from the customer for us to work on? They work on it, they refine it, they prioritize it, they understand the story and everything, and then they work on again, they're working on again, they're working on. And that is how Kanban flows. So some project types that are suited to Kanban, the first one is maintenance and support. So in a situation where you have a website that is up and running already, but they just need maintenance and support, Kanban is good for that aspect of that project. Okay. So it's ideal, very, very ideal for handling ongoing, maintenance, bug fixing, customer support tasks. The customer wants this to be done. This customer quickly wants you to do this and all that. So Kanban is suited for those kind of projects, because work is prioritized based on urgency and importance, like I said earlier on. So Kanban is suited for that. It's also suited for continuous improvement projects also. So you have projects that you need to optimize the project. They need to improve, the way the team works, or the way the organization works. Kanban is highly effective for that. So for those ones, let's look at maybe at the hospital, for instance. Maybe it's the call center. They want to improve or optimize the efficiency. So Kanban is good for that also, because it's continuous workflow. The in an hospital, the calls are always coming in. It's continuous. It's continuous. So they work with that also. They make sure that all the IT, the techniques and everything that needs to be in place, the technicalities, everything is working and is flowing well. So it's good for that. And like I said, it's good for service based also. So like an hospital also is a service based operations, administrative works, and all that. Kanban is well suited, for those kind of projects also. So quickly, we want to look at SAFE. And for SAFE, our concentration will be on the program level. So SAFE has different levels, which we would just touch briefly on. But we want to look at the one we want to look at is the program level. And that's the one that is the next level, high level after the team level. So that's the one we want to focus on, because the focus tonight is really not on SAFE, but it's just one of Aja's framework on an enterprise level that we quickly also want to look at, because it's another one that is commonly being used and is growing out there. So the SAFE there, the full meaning of that acronym is the Scaled Agile Framework. Okay. And like I said, it's comprehensive and is widely used now out there framework, and it's designed to help organizations to scale agile practices across, large enterprise. It provides a structural approach to dealing with a large project, a project on a large scale, on an enterprise level, a project that goes beyond, I'm just building for kind of a stakeholder. I'm just building for maybe a startup or things like that. It goes into project that has to do with maybe governmental project that has to do with regulations, or even products at times that goes across different components. Those are the ones you use SAFE for. Okay, and it has different levels. Like I said, you have the team level, which focuses on individual agile team. It could be Scrum, it could be Kanban. So that's the team level. You have the program level, which we're going to touch on tonight. For the program level, that one coordinates multiple agile teams working together on a particular product or service. And then you have the large solution level. That one, man, that level manages more complex solutions, and that requires, coordination between multiple agile release trains. Okay. And then you have the portfolio that aligns organizational strategy with execution through portfolio management. Is I think that's the highest one. So it could cut across more than one organization, or an organization that interacts or engages with lot of third parties and all that, but cut across that. Okay, so, but like I said, for today's session, we're just going to focus on the program level. We'll talk about the team level because the team level works within the program level, but the focus is on the program level. So for the program level, we're looking at the roles that you have in the SAVE. So SAVE introduces the new roles that are crucial um to scaling agile. Okay, so be it the team level, program level, solution level, or portfolio level, they all have their own roles, the roles that work within those levels. They each have their own roles. So for the team level, we know the same roles you have for Scrum or Kanban are the same roles that you will have there. But when it comes to the program level, you have the release train engineer. Okay, they call them RTE. So you have the release train engineer. Okay, so, and the release train engineer are the ones that they are the ones that facilitate the program increment planning. They call it PI planning. Okay, so the same way the Scrum Master, when it comes to the team level, will facilitate the sprints planning. For the program level, the release train engineer is the one that facilitates the planning. And what they are planning is, during that planning, you'll have the group of agile teams coming together that are going to work together. So they tell them, okay, so this is the program goal that we have for a particular time and everything and all that. And every team is going to look at, oh, this is my own component out of this goal that is in place. This is my own component. So once they discuss that and everything, each team will now go and plan based on that program goal that has been given. And there is a time limit also for that program goal that they all now, and then there'll be dependencies, obviously. So if we're working on a particular goal, and every out of those, let's assume it's five agile teams that are working on that program, and everyone has their own component, they're all going to go back, talk about their components. Their scrum masters are going to come together to meet because there will be dependencies. If team A not finish what they are doing, there's every possibility that team B cannot start what they need to do. So we need to meet to say, how long is it going to take you to do this? We need to know the timeline for you to do that, or you can't take it more than that because we also need to do this before the time we all come back together to have finished what we need to do. Okay, so that is the role of the release train engineer. And then you have the product manager. So for the Scrum team, you have a product owner. For the safe, you have the product manager, and the product manager's role is to set the priorities across the multiple teams. Okay, they define the program backlog. So for the team level, for Scrum, you have the product backlog. For safe, you have the program backlog, and that is one backlog that all those 5 teams that I've given example of, all of them are working from that backlog. Okay, so they ensure that the product or the solution aligns with the customers and business needs. They again are the person in between the customer and the teams that are working, but they have a program backlog and ensure that everything aligns, every requirement in there aligns with what the customer wants, and also the team has an understanding of what needs to be done. And then you have the system architect or an engineer, and that person is responsible for the architectural integrity, and the design of the system. The system is safe. The performance level of the system is a secured system that is in place, ensures that nothing breaks, so to say. Okay, so just like you have a tech lead maybe in a Scrum team and all that, you have the system architect or an engineer for for safe. Okay, so, and then like I said, you have the team level because it's about 3, 4, 5 or more than that, depending on the kind of project we're talking about, that come together to work on this. And I think Laomi gave us an example when she was taking us in one of the sessions where she says, like, when you're building an automobile, building an automobile, that's a project and it uses safe. It can't use Scrum because there are multiple team that comes together to make an automobile. Say the same thing with construction. Construction, you have the electricians, you have the bricklayers, you have, those are teams that, everybody needs to work together, to make the projects come together or to stand. Okay. So quickly, let's look at the ceremonies that you have in program level safe. So we have the program increments planning, the PI planning. Like I said earlier on, that the PI planning is the meeting, is a key meeting for the program level, or for SAFE generally, is a key meeting where the release train engineer come together with the team to plan work for the next program increment. It could be 8 weeks, it could be 12 weeks that they've planned it for. That's the timeline for everyone, or for that goal, to be achieved. So they come together during the PI planning, the program increment planning. They come together to discuss about how it's going to go. The teams align on the overall objective. Dependencies are identified. Like I said earlier on, the Scrum Masters come together to look at the dependencies identified, and then they come to plan how well they are going to align in order to ensure that there is no delay, there is no blockage in things being done. The vision is shared for the increments that needs to be established at the end of the timeline, either the 8 weeks or the 12 weeks. They share the vision. This is what we want at the end of that. And these are the dependencies that are in place, and everything is discussed at that meeting. Okay, so another ceremony we have is the art sync. So for the art sync is a meeting that synchronizes the progress of all the teams within the agile release train. Like I said earlier on, I said this after they've had the PI planning, the Scrum Masters will come together to discuss how they're going to align to ensure that the dependencies, how they're going to deal with it and all that. That is the art sync. Okay, so and they are in two parts. You have the Scrum of Scrums. That is the first one, and like I said, it's the meeting of the Scrum Masters or the team representative. So it doesn't have to be the Scrum Masters that go. It could be the tech lead. It could be the Scrum Master and the tech lead. If what they are going to discuss is so technical and the Scrum Master is not that techie, can take the tech lead along. So it could be any team representative to go there. And what they're discussing is the progress. How are we going to manage our dependencies? How are we going to manage the impediment, that are going to be in place? How best are we going to move? How frequent do we need to meet when we have issues? Are we going to be doing weekly meetings so that we look at progress of things and know how we move and how we deal with things and all that? That is the meeting. It's like they need to sync together and all that. And then you have the PO sync also. So just like you have the Scrum of Scrum, you have the PO sync also, where the product owners are coming together to align priorities also and the status of the program backlog. So they are looking at the program backlog with the the product manager, and they're able to align also what do we need to prioritize first and all that. Whose team is doing this? So that's priority. So if that is your team working on it and all that, you need to discuss with them by so time and everything. They are syncing, they are working together, aligning everything that needs to be done. And then the last ceremony there is the system demo. So for the system demo, also that's when they come together to demonstrate the integrated product from all the teams within the agile release train at the end of the iteration or that PI. Okay, for that at the end of the 12 weeks or 8 weeks, they are all coming to do a demo of their own components. It's integrated together now. So they are coming together, and that they are integrating it together, and everything is the role of the system architect or manager. So once they are finished, is making sure that everything is integrated properly, everything is working smoothly, everything is working well. So they come to that demo to demo that system. So this is the part of what we did and everything. And then when it's next, so by the time we finish this, it flows into this. The next thing comes in to say, so when it comes into this is what needs to be done and everything, they do a demo. of that increment, of that goal for that particular time that they have achieved. So quickly, we want to look at the artifacts. So the first artifact we know is the program backlog, where the requirement for that particular increment, program increment, has been put, and everything. That's the one that needs to be synced by the PO and the product manager together. Okay, so they prioritize also the items, the list of items that are there that they need to work on during that time, and it is managed by the product manager, like I said. Even though it has product owners for each and every one of the team, he's the one that is explaining to the product owners how prioritized items in the program backlog needs to be prioritized and needs to be worked on. And then we have the program increment objective. Okay, that is the goal. Okay, so the program increment objective, the PI objective, that's the high level goal that sets the planning in place, that guides the team, or we'll call them the agile release train. So all the teams together are called agile release train, that guides them on the focus of what needs to be done towards that increment for that either 8 weeks or 12 weeks. And then we also have the program Kanban, can call it like that. It's a visual representation of the flow, of the flow of the features through the stages of development, e.g., the discovery stage. So that program Kanban is just for visualization, so that they visualize, because we're talking about a complex thing. They are working on a large scale, so they need a board also to be able to show us that, oh, we finished with, this is the discovery stage. These are the things we've discovered. No, this aspect, we don't want to forget it. It helps to keep things, not to forget things, kind of keep record of things, so to say. So there is a board, like that, a program Kanban board that is being used by all those, especially the leaders, to ensure they release, train engineer, the product manager, and then the system architect also. So the system architect can bring things that are technical also onto that Kanban board to say, okay, so even though we've been working like this and everything, if we're not careful, performance wise, the system can crash and everything. So I need to upgrade, da, 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 da. And they're putting it on that board, they're prioritizing it on the board so that it doesn't cause a delay later on when they start working on it. Okay. So quickly we look at the types of projects. We did say that it deals with large scale projects. So there can be large scale software development. That is what SAFE deals with when you have large scale that coordinates multiple agile teams together. It has that. And then you have regulated industry projects. So we're talking about government. You're talking about governmental policies, that deals with more than one team, that deals with multiple teams and all that. Regulations are in place. They are complex. They are large. It has to do with enterprise, governmental enterprise, and all that. They use SAFE. Healthcare, finance, banking system, financial organizations, government organizations, they all deal with regulations and all that. And where compliance, security, regulatory constraints, and all that comes into being, that is large scale, that is enterprise level, and SAFE is suited for such projects. And then you have multiple teams projects. Like we said, SAFE deals with more than one team. We're not talking about one Scrum team or one Kanban team and all that. It deals with more than, for the example I gave an example of maybe 5, 6, or 7 agile teams working together, working on different components in order to, synchronize things together. And those are the projects that are suited for SAFE. And then you're looking at, we can look also at telecommunications or infrastructure projects also. SAFE is suited for those also, because there has to be careful planning. There's a lot of components when you talk about all these ones. For example, if you're looking at telecommunication projects, you're talking about network upgrades, you're talking about new technologies, you're talking about installations, you're talking about geographical areas that needs to be covered and all that. And different teams have to, work on all these, but they're all working together, because all those components need to work together before you can say you have a product that you want to release out there. They're looking at the technical aspect, operation, regulatory aspect also, and everything for all these components that come together before, you're used, with the times when we hold on to the phone and we're using the phone and we just think, oh, just phone and everything. But, a lot of teams have come together. There's a lot of components that makes that phone what it is. If it has not been done, it's not about just the technical or the IT aspect of it. Also, there are other, like I said, the regulatory aspect that has been put in place. That phone has to be secured, all those things, bits and pieces that have been put together to make it what it is. So these are just some of the project types that SAFE is uh suited for. So there are more than this four. We're just limiting things to this for now. Okay. So quickly we want to look at some key agile metrics. So we're looking at velocity. So this one's also, I'm just going to talk quickly on them because I want to believe that there will be a session where metrics will be dealt with properly. So I'm not going to delve into them. Like I said at the start of this session, it's just the basis that we're doing tonight. Okay, so these are useful specific metrics to track progress and performance, and then the focus on the delivery of value rather than adhering to strict timelines. So they are not there to pinpoint, to blame team members that they've not done what they need to do. They are there to help them to improve, to track their progress, to look at the reports, and then to be able to use that to improve what they're doing. So the first one is velocity. So the velocity tells you, tracks the amount of work completed in a sprint over a period of time. So it looks at different sprints over a period of time and then is able to give a trajectory of, okay, so this is the average velocity for this particular team. It helps to focus for future sprint capacity. Also, for the burn down chart, it shows the progress of work during a sprint. Okay, it's a chart, a visual chart. The velocity also is a visual chart, and it just represents the progress of work during a sprint. It shows us how much work is remaining while in the sprint. And then the lead time, so the velocity, you have velocity for Kanban, Bonda mainly is for Scrum, and then lead time and cycle time mostly is for Kanban. It's not as if you can't set them for Scrum, but they are mainly good to track Kanban progress. So for lead time is the total time from when a task is requested to when it is completed. That is what the lead time tracks. And then for cycle time, it takes into effect from the time when that task moves in from in progress to done. So it's tracking from when the team starts working on it, not when it is in the backlog, but from the in progress, when they start working on it until the time it goes to completed or it goes to into the done column. And what that helps us to see is it just helps us to indicate how efficient the team is. Okay, so these are just some of it. And an example of metric usage is with velocity. A team is able to use their velocity over a period of time to determine how long it's going to take them, to complete a particular project, because they're able to use that average velocity to determine, to say, if we keep doing maybe 30 story points per sprint, and if they've estimated that maybe the whole project is the story point for the whole project based on what is inside in the backlog, what has the requirement that has been put in the backlog is going to be, let's say 300. So they're looking at, if we're doing 30 story points per sprint and our sprint is 2 weeks, yeah, and then they're looking at it, that's okay. So if we're doing 30 story points per sprint and we have 300 story points for the whole project, then it's going to take us roughly something like 10 sprints to finish what we're doing. And that is looking at 10 sprints will be 20 weeks for them to do what they need to. So it helps to forecast also. So it might not be exactly that, but at least it's giving a rough timeline that they have to do what they need to do. They might be faster, they might be slower, depending on what they meet when they start working and the complexity they come in contact with. But at least there's an estimate. It helps them to be able to give an estimate. of what needs to be done. So these are some of the basic foundational knowledge about agile approach, and the frameworks that we want to start off with in our journey to discovering and practicing and becoming agile and using that project management approach. So next session that we have, we'll start looking at the phases of project management. We'll look at the initiation, planning, and then we'll take it on from there. So thank you so much. I don't know if you have any questions.